Welcome to the No Excuse to Miss podcast. I'm your host, Scott Volquartsen. And this week, Chad Wittrock, our director of marketing, is joining me. And we decided we're going to get on here, talk a little bit about some of the end of the year updates, and then touch on gratitude as well. This is the No Excuse to Miss podcast. Really hard to believe, but we're fast approaching Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all the marketing and everything that surrounds that. For those of us in the SHOT Show or in the firearms industry, we're approaching SHOT Show deadlines. So we figured we'd jump on here, answer a few questions that we get, and just kind of take it from there. So how you doing today, Chad?
I'm doing great. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold, so hopefully everyone can understand me all right. But no, I'm doing well. We have a dusting of snow that you ordered. I noticed that this morning, so I figured that was you that requested the snow here in Iowa.
70 degrees one day, 20 degrees the next day. That's why we live in Iowa.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So the big thing was last year we decided to forego Black Friday and Cyber Monday discounts. Do you want to touch on what the plan for this year might be for everyone that's wondering right now? Should I order something? Should I wait?
Yeah, so we're going to basically do the same thing we did last year, which is not run any sort of promotion for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, whatever other day you want to call it. And I think it'd be good for us to touch on, we've done it through email to our subscriber list, but I think it'd be good to touch on why we do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I know we go back and forth on it, and we thought really hard on it last year before we decided to not do anything for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So yeah, I think it'd be good to kind of touch on those reasons again.
Yeah, so really what it came down to was, initially it was Black Friday, then they added the Cyber Monday, and now, as most of you guys have probably seen, there's been promotions in our email inboxes going back to as early as first week in October trying to promote this. So from our perspective, we start wondering, where do you draw the line? At what point do you cut off existing orders and say, okay, now these are all promotions, these are not? And to us, it never really felt right that we were going to, almost in some ways penalize people that decided to order earlier in the year.
Right. And it always also kind of came down to people that even ordered earlier in the week or the month. And that came down to that same line where people would be reaching out to us at the beginning of November, thinking of ordering, but wanting to know if we were going to have discounts unveiled or rolled out. Then they wanted to wait. So yeah, where do you draw that line?
Or on those prior orders, they would ask if we could make it retroactive, that they would get their discount.
Yep, exactly.
And we never really had a good reason to say, no, it just officially started this day or whatever it might be. It's reminded me for almost like early days of satellite TV or with our cell phones, where the new customer got all the promotions, all the benefits. And it was almost felt like, as a current customer of one of those, that you were being penalized that you've been with them 3, 4, 5 years.
Exactly. Yep.
Which is, in a lot of ways, the same way I see this, where, somebody orders in May, they're almost getting penalized for not waiting.
Right. And I think, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the other side of that is, we don't really view ourselves as a discount product or a discount brand. So for us, once again, it just never felt right that we were going to offer 10, 15, or 20% discount on something. It was, we put a lot of time, resources, everything into the products we manufacture.
Right. Yep.
And I mean, if we could sell them cheaper, many times we would. So when you're discounting them, you're basically devaluing the amount of time and effort that goes into developing and manufacturing those products. And something we've touched on in this podcast before, as soon as you start offering those discounts, it can start creeping into your team's head that, these are 10% off or these are 15% off. And it may or may not never happen. But in my world, it opens up that door that people can, in the back of their minds, maybe say, well, this is a discounted item.
I can get it for less. Yep.
I can get away with this.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And one thing we really looked at and really struggled with as we decided what to do throughout the Black Fridays gone by, I guess. A lot of times we struggle with, do we do something with firearms? Do we do something with just parts? And the more we thought about it, we just kind of hit the brakes on everything. And last year was the first year, I think, that we did that. And we sent out that email.
Oh, I was just going to say, while you were touching on that, the one thing that you made me think of, it's really a disservice to our dealers and retailers that carry our products.
Yeah.
Because depending on the amount of the discount or, how steep you go with that, in some ways you're actually undercutting your dealer network that's trying, working hard out there to sell your product.
Yeah. And many times they're really on the retail front lines there. You're exactly right. And on that note, we do encourage you, it's no secret that we do have lead times on a lot of things, or products that are out of stock. Check out Volquartsen.com and visit our dealer network, especially through the holiday season, because, they may have discounts on something. They may be running specials on something. If you're looking for a firearm over the holidays, there's no better way to, be able to handle one in person. So I did want to touch on that too, Scott.
Yeah. And that's a great point. We do have a lot of dealers that currently have inventory that, they've stocked up for the holiday season. And before I forget, I was going to bring this up too, right before that is, and I think you were starting to go there with saying, the email we sent out last week or last year describing this, overwhelmingly, the majority of the feedback we got was very positive.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. The more we thought about it, and when we sent that email, we were sweating a little bit on what the response was going to be, and we were pleasantly surprised for how overwhelmingly positive it was.
And I think, I know for me, when I shop, if I know that item A is always going to be $99, no matter where I buy it or when I buy it, to me, it gives me comfort that I can go out and buy that now, because I don't have to check 10 different websites for the best price. I don't have to wait for it to go on sale.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've ever left anything on the table buying it now versus waiting until
right. And typically, I think
sale or a discount.
I think you and I shop in very similar manners. That I don't think either one of us like to wait. I think when we decide to buy something, we buy it. So if I'm going to buy something in June or October 30th or November 15th, I'm just going to buy it. I'm typically not going to wait and see if there's a discount. So we really felt that this was really in line with how we like to buy and what's most beneficial to all of our customers.
And it, like I said, last year worked out well, and I think we're going to do it again this year. And, with all the feedback we got, I think it's the right move.
Yeah, I would completely agree.
So that's kind of that, where there's not going to be any Black Friday discounts for promotions. So I'm going to kind of move on now to another thing that we've been getting a lot of questions on, and that's the SHOT Show.
Yep, getting into that time of year.
Yeah, it is that time of year. The SHOT Show deadlines are upon us. You're starting to see it on social media. We're getting requests for meetings. Are we going to be there? So I thought it'd be easiest to explain it. Kind of our position on it here is, for the second year in a row, we will not be exhibiting at SHOT Show. And once again, just like last year, it has nothing to do with any sort of ulterior motive or statement that we're making. What it simply comes down to is, for those that don't know, the SHOT Show and many trade shows work on a priority-based system. So every year that you attend, you get a certain number of points. Every consecutive year, you get points. On the size of your booth, you're given additional points. If you're part of different trade organizations, you're given even additional points from there. And then when booth selection happens, it obviously just goes down that list. So prior to last year, we hadn't missed a show since '99. So we had an excellent location on the main floor. And and I think we even did a podcast why we decided not to exhibit last year. So I don't want to get back into that. But basically what it boils down to is this year's location with where we were going to be able to exhibit was in what I consider a back room off the beaten path. And
yeah, we had intentions of returning. It just, that booth location just didn't feel ideal to us and to how we want to represent our brand.
No. And, the one thing is that at that trade show, whether you're on the main floor, whether you're in the
lower level,
what I call the basement, they call the lower level. Everything, there's no discounts for you not being in that main area. So the show becomes very cost intensive. Everything from, getting your freight there, the time required to get everything ready. And then much of it, the electrical, all that is union labor. So it's a very expensive show to set up at. So in our opinion, being where we were going to be located, the return just wasn't there.
Right. And that was another decision, even like we discussed last year, not easy. We had every intention of returning this year, and we went back and forth on it quite a bit once looking at the booth selection, and ultimately just looking at our big picture for the next 12 to 18 months, just decided it wasn't going to be a good fit this year.
Yeah. And for those that are asking, it's very possible we'll be back next year. At some point we're going to have to get back in and we'll start back at the bottom. But we just don't know when that time will be, because the one thing we do miss is, seeing everybody that we've met over the years, friends, business colleagues. And then obviously the potential of meeting new dealers. In some ways I wish it would be opened up to a consumer show, or at least maybe one day. So that way all the time and effort that you put into it, you can maximize your value there.
That'd be great.
So I will miss that, because like for myself, I've been to close to 30 of them. So you do, and a lot of times it's the only time of year you see certain people.
Yeah. It's the only time you get to see certain people and, hang out and connect, beyond a phone call or an email.
I mean, yeah. And, obviously the last couple of years, it feels like everything's been in Zoom calls, but, they're functional, but I would definitely much rather see somebody in person and sit down and have a drink with them or have a lunch with them, whatever it might be.
Exactly. Yep.
Versus, doing it all electronically. So that kind of, covers a couple of the main questions we've been getting.
Right.
And I also wanted.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, even to build on that, just to hear you touched on, consumers and things. And I think just to illustrate a point, 2021 event wise was probably one of our busier years again, getting back in the full swing of things, doing events, being at shows, trying to connect directly to our customers, and things like that, which we do have, even more plans in 2023. 2021 was okay. 2022 here we did even more events. So in 2023, we're hoping to continue growing kind of that event base of where we are out and present at a lot of these events.
Well, it allows the consumer, and dealers alike, if they would, if they want to be part of it, but it allows them to actually go to the range, shoot our products, ask questions real time, which to me is still what it's all about. Trade shows are great, but you're not out on the range. You're not,
right.
Not putting rounds down range.
Good time.
Yes. And then even if, it's always hard to have conversations on the range, but then a lot of these events have, get-togethers at night that then they can sit down. You can answer questions for people. And it also gives us great opportunity for feedback to learn from, okay, this person is doing this a certain way with our firearm. We never anticipated that. How can we make that better? Or, how can we improve this? This was a common, this seems to be very popular, or this was a common complaint all day long. And it gives us instant feedback on how to make a better product.
Exactly. Instant feedback is perfectly said, Scott.
Yeah. So lastly, we are approaching Thanksgiving. The one thing we kind of wanted to touch on too was just gratitude in general. It's gotten really popular on social media to talk about gratitude journals, almost to the point that I don't even think people really give it their full focus when they're saying they're being grateful or showing gratitude. And I've been very guilty of it, where I talk about gratitude when maybe I'm not really focused on it, not really reflecting on what am I very grateful for. So I kind of wanted to talk about that here a little bit. It seems like the last couple of years we've talked about it on here. The world's in a negative place. It's easy to think that everything's against us. But the one thing that I have learned is that we're all going to face adversity at one time or the other. And many times when we go through that adversity, it's hard to have gratitude. It's hard to get outside our own head and see how good we actually have it. And this just worked for me. I know everybody has their own thing, but the one thing that I've always found is by just getting out of my own head and talking to other people, it's amazing how that adversity that we think is unique upon ourselves is many times very commonplace for other people. And having those conversations and talking to people, gives you some comfort. And a lot of times they can help you with some guidance, and, they can discuss how it helped them. So, this Thanksgiving, as we approach Thanksgiving, I've been very intentional what, I'm really grateful for. Even at times when it seems like a situation doesn't have anything, there's nothing positive that can come out of a certain situation. I have found that by doing so, or by really sitting down, even journaling about it a little bit, I can always find a positive spin on just about anything that's happened to me, or as a lot of people will say, it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I found a quote that I thought was really good. And I always try to go back to this when I'm struggling with it. And it's that all pain is temporary and will eventually be replaced. And we're in control of what it's replaced with.
I like that. That's good.
So, like I said, I challenge everybody out there, and without getting too far into the weeds, just really take some time, find what you're grateful for this holiday season. Be present with your family members.
I think you
we see it all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, we see it all the time. We hear about it on social media. We see the hashtags, whatever it might be. But maybe we need to get away from the hashtags of social media and just really be present and grateful for our friends and family this holiday season.
Exactly. I think that's perfect.
And I think if we did that, I think a lot of I'm not going to pretend like we don't have problems in our country and all that stuff, because we do. But in my opinion, we still live in the best country in the world. A lot of the problems that we think we have are perceived problems.
Absolutely.
So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. You have anything to add to that, Chad?
No, I think you nailed it. We talk a lot about the idea of permanence and how, bad times or adversity won't last forever. On the flip side, it also helps make us thankful, because, we also have to realize that great times don't necessarily last forever either, but there's always an ebb and flow, and kind of that whole sweet isn't as sweet without the bitter type situations. Like you said, I think being present and looking and assessing and truly noting what you're grateful for is a big deal.
And you bring up a great point, because without a lot of those hard times, without a lot of that adversity, many of us wouldn't be where we are now. We wouldn't be who we are now. It seems counterintuitive, but you really need those difficult times to enjoy the good times and to, teach us about ourselves and who we are and what we can become.
Yeah, that's perfect. Completely agree.
So we're going to be back. We're going to get back into our regular flow of guests over the holidays. It may be a little hit or miss because everybody is, just like I'm sure you guys are, everybody's busy this year. But then right after January, we will be going full force with weekly episodes again and have some great guests lined up. Can't wait to bring them to you. And just wishing you all a truly heartfelt Thanksgiving. And we are grateful for each and every one of you that listen to the show, each and one of our customers. So truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you.